And then I'm going to share my screen. And go over here to the presentation and start the presentation. Okay, terrific. Good morning. So once again, my name is Darren Lokema. I'm the Assistant Superintendent for Wappinger Central School District, Assistant Superintendent for Compliance and Information Systems. On behalf of our District Superintendent, Mr. Jose Carrion, I'd like to welcome you all and thank you for attending our 10th grade Wappinger CSD Reopening Parent Forum. I'll be co-presenting today with our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, Dr. Michelle Cardwell. And just a couple of quick things before we get going. I will be this meeting is being recorded, and if you have any kind of questions or comments or any, to address anything that was or wasn't asked in this presentation, please use the chat feature in this meeting, and then ask your questions there. We will grab all those questions and do our best to answer. I'm sure we won't be able to answer them all live, but whatever we can't answer, we will provide a response in writing in the next few days. So thank you all who took the time to fill out the parent forum survey last week. The survey results helped us create and included responses where you all had a chance to ask us questions, and we took those questions and we added them into the answers. We had hundreds of questions. We added them all up, consolidated them. And added as many answers as we could into this presentation. So we'll go through this presentation, give answers to most commonly asked questions, and then at the end we'll answer questions that you have. If you've been on, this is the 10th grade session. If you've done any of the previous ones, this is now the 11th presentation we've done. There's only a few more left, but it's basically the same presentation. What usually seems to make it different is at the end, the types of questions that are asked by the different grade levels. So bear with us if you've listened to this already before, and if not, welcome, and I hope you find the information to be helpful. We're also going to hopefully identify in the first few slides what some of the information we received from the New York State government governor's office that helped us make the decision for starting remotely in September. So without further ado, we will get going. This presentation will be made available either this afternoon or tomorrow morning, and just so you know, all these links at the top will be clickable and go to the original information that we're referencing. So just to start off, when we were asked to create our Wappinger CSD reopening plan, we were asked by New York State Education Department to have to consider a number of different mandates that are being required of us. The first of it, which that was talked about, was from a teaching and learning perspective. The mandate indicated that the district is to ensure that we have substantial daily interaction between teachers and students when we're doing remote learning. So that is something that we have in the forefront of our mind, and conversations that we're having with administrators and teachers as well as we plan for September in our remote learning process, again, to have substantial daily interaction between teachers and students. It's also important that we take into account our students' social and emotional well-being. We know that students have been away from their friends, their peers, outside of structured class for many months. Certainly this has an impact on all of our lives, but could also have an isolating social emotional effect on our students. So we are being asked by the New York State Education Department as well to ensure that we're intentionally and meaningfully including lessons and curriculum that are aligned with social and emotional well-being. So we are certainly considering our students' physical health as well as their social and emotional health as well. Special education is something that we pay close attention to regardless, but thinking about our reopening plans, the state wants to ensure that we are not forgetting about our students with the greatest need. All of our students in public education are to receive a free and appropriate public education. That's the mantra that basically is provided through the state and federal governments when it comes to public education in schools in our country. But that does not mean that we don't strive for excellence. We certainly do. And we also have to make sure that we're being very collaborative with our parents as we work on the accommodations and extra supports needed for our students of the highest need to ensure that they're able to at least access and perform on grade level to the greatest extent possible with their peers across all of our grades K to 12. Chronic absenteeism and student daily attendance is another topic that the state made sure that we were going to be referencing in our plan. They said schools must develop a mechanism for schools must develop a mechanism to collect and report daily teacher-student attendance. That mechanism is going to be in the form of a daily, and it's different for elementary as it is for high school. But certainly we're going to have to come up with a method to take our period by period attendance every day. So if you're familiar with our attendance process in the past, if your child missed a certain number of classes, they would be marked absent for the day, and you would get that robocall at the end of the day or the early the next morning indicating that your child missed a day of school. It's certainly possible that you're going to get those robocalls again. We'll apologize in advance. I'm sure through trial and error, it's going to take a little bit of sorting out at first. But apologize in advance if you get a false alert. If your child was in fact in school, but we had marked them absent, just let us know. It's something very easy for us to be able to change. That's great. Keep the questions coming. Whatever questions we cannot answer, we will provide. You'll get a lot of answers hopefully in this presentation, and then a number of any other questions we don't answer in this presentation, we'll do our best to answer after the presentation. The next few slides are going to refer to information received from the New York State Governor's Office and his two most recent news conferences as they related to school openings. The first was on July 13th. The news conference talked about how schools will be reopened using a formula. The formula basically said if our region, which is the Mid-Hudson region, is in phase 4 and the daily infection rate remains below 5%, we can open our schools. We know the entire state was in phase 4. We knew our infection rate was low. Schools will be asked to close again if our infection rate grows higher than 9% using a 7-day average. So it came as no surprise to us when on August 7th, the governor said schools can open across the state, so long as we have an approved local plan, which we do. The next couple slides, in this link at the top is clickable. It goes to the recording of the governor's address. The next couple of slides speaks to or grabs quotes out of that presentation, out of that news conference from the governor's office. And really just some of the things that he said helped shape our decision making with regards to going remote learning on September 10th. And maybe some of this will give you a sense as to what that was. But obviously he said that there's a significant level of anxiety and concern between parents and teachers. That he wants he wants school districts to do two things. He said two things, but he listed three. Post our remote learning plan, post our plan for health for testing teachers and students, and post our contact tracing plan. All those things are, we're being told, are important components for what he would like to see added in terms of additional information posted on our website, and that additional specificity must be given for all three of those components, so that way our public is made aware of exactly how we're going to deal with those three things, and that we need to have at least 3 opportunities for parents to participate in a conference with the district. The conference opportunity with the district, that is the purpose of this meeting as well. We are offering 15, not just 3. Our thought process on that was that knowing that we're going to be using an online platform, we didn't want anyone to feel excluded if our online platform capacity were to be, used up. We did not want anyone to be blocked from the meeting, so we decided to do grade level meetings, and that's the purpose of today's meeting as well, for you to be able to ask questions and listen for additional information. The governor also wanted to have at least 1 meeting with teachers and administrators. We will definitely be doing that. When it came time for reporters to ask questions of the governor, one of them had asked about testing for asymptomatic people. And the governor went on to talk about how that is one of the top 5 questions he has asked. He goes on to say, how do we prevent asymptomatic people from infecting other people in schools, similar to how people got infected in nursing homes? Excuse me, the New York State governor's response was, some school districts have a better answer than others. It's up to the local district to come up with a plan. Yes, temperature taking is a concern. Test a child who has a temperature, but what about asymptomatic spread? How do you detect asymptomatic spread when the only way you can detect asymptomatic spread is when you get sick? He goes on to say, but that is a very good question, one that local school districts have to answer. So that comment especially made us take pause and think, well, we are not medical professionals. We're educators, and so we knew that we would have to have a screening process, taking a temperature every day, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But we weren't. We were pretty surprised to hear that there might be an expectation that we somehow have to do something to detect asymptomatic spread. So we're going to have to rely on some of our local governments and Department of Health to help us with that, I'm sure, but those plans were not clearly articulated. And finally, the governor goes on to say, you need two things to open schools, students and teachers. Students you cannot force back, and you don't want to get into a legal battle with the teachers. They cannot teach if they do not feel safe. You cannot order a teacher into a classroom and tell them to teach if they don't feel safe. I'm telling you, there's going to need to be significant discussions. They, meaning the teachers, raise important issues. They need to be comfortable. So with that in mind, we are a very large school district. We have responsibility to a lot of different families, staff, stakeholders, students, obviously, to the degree at which we knew that that we have to be, we have a lot of people's personal health interests in mind, and we need to make sure that we are taking that into all these aspects into account before we can safely open our schools. I'm going to pause this for just 1 second. I can see there's a family walking back and forth outside who are looking to get access to the building, and I want to make sure that they're getting help. 1 second, I'm sorry. Okay, one of our colleagues is helping them. Sorry, they must have walked by my window like 3 or 4 times, and I could tell they needed something. So all right, very good. So this chart shows that. Can everyone still hear me? I want to make sure I didn't touch anything incorrectly. You guys are all. Hopefully, everyone can hear me still. Excellent, thank you. All right, so this chart represents the 13 school districts in our county, the smallest being Weebichuck, the most northeast corner of our county. They have 653 students, grades K to 12. And obviously there's a big difference between them and us. We have 10,645 students, grades K to 12. That's as of last year's enrollment numbers. A lot of times a lot of times the community compares us to Arlington in terms of equal size. But clearly we are quite a bit larger than Arlington as well. So we do have a lot of responsibility in our community. The superintendent had thought it would be a good idea to show other large school districts in comparison to what our plans are for reopening compared to what they have for plans to reopen. Students in Dutchess, Orange, or there's districts in Dutchess, Orange, Rockland, Westchester, Putnam counties that have at least 6,000 students enrolled. Looking at those students, or looking at those 11 school districts, all but one, and I know that Clarkstown says hybrid, but that's not correct. All but one, Haverstraw, are planning to start their school year as a hybrid model. Everyone else is going to start remotely, similar to what we are planning. Yesterday, Clarkstown did say that they will be starting hybrid. Last night, a news article came out that they changed their mind and that they'll be doing it remotely. 2 days ago, White Plains had this as a hybrid as well, and now they're also doing a phased-in remote. So we're definitely not alone, and a lot of districts are looking to take the careful approach. So I'm going to take a step out of this, and I know that's possible that many of you have already seen this, but I'm going to take a step out of this presentation. This link at the top will also be clickable as well, and show you our instructional delivery timeline in this PDF. So the way this is going to work is this is our transition timeline to go between remote and hybrid learning. It's subject to change, of course, but the way it's being planned out right now is all grades K to 12 will begin remote learning on September 10th, with the K-1-2 students being the first students to transition to hybrid on September, technically the 29th, the week of the 28th. We're off on the 28th. And then each week after that, we're going to add additional students into our schools until by the last week of October, we're going to have all of high school fully on the hybrid schedule as well. But the key is that in between each step of the way, we're going to make sure that we're evaluating and assessing our processes and procedures as it relates to social distancing and health screening and communication plans and all those things to make sure that we are doing what's best for our building occupants, students, teachers, faculty, and staff alike to each and every day that there are people in the building. So I'm going to go back to the presentation. As you may have also heard, we'll be dividing students up into two different cohorts, the A group, cohort A and B. It'll be divided by alphabetical last name. A to K will be cohort A. L to Z will be cohort B. Cohort A will attend school Mondays and Tuesdays, every Monday and Tuesday. Everyone will have remote learning Wednesday. Then cohort A will be remote learning Thursday, Friday. The inverse will be true for cohort B. Cohort B will be fully remote Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then in-person Thursday, Friday. Exceptions will be made. We know that alphabetical is not a perfect divider, so we know that people will have special unique needs. Please contact your building administrator if you know that your child is in a cohort that doesn't work, or if you have multiple last names underneath the same roof and you want all students to go to school at the same time. We are certainly flexible to that as well. The reopening plan survey that went home to parents had a number of different categories in it. The categories, we asked everyone to provide questions that you might have specific to these categories. The first one we're going to go over is teaching and learning, and then after that, we'll go through all the rest of them alphabetically. And we want to thank you for submitting the questions. It was important they submit questions, submit additional questions in this chat. We'll try to get to them at the very end. And hopefully some of the questions that you had will be answered. And I'm going to turn the microphone over to Dr. Michelle Cardwell, who's going to first talk about teaching and learning.
Thank you, Mr. Lokema, and good afternoon, everyone. So by now, all of you have heard that the Wapping District will be opening remotely for all students beginning September 10th. So the question is, well, what will remote learning look like? And when we transition, what will the hybrid model look like? So we are in conversations with WCT, which is our Wappingers Congress of Teachers, as well as our Wappingers Administrative Association, to finalize details. However, there is much information that I will be able to provide to you today. So students in a remote learning model will receive instruction both asynchronously and asynchronously, which means there will be scheduled times for students to log on to live instruction, as well as to continue the lesson asynchronously. The exact schedules and the amount of time a student will spend online will be determined based upon a subject and grade level, and that information will be shared with students and families by the classroom teacher. Schools will be sending out schedules to students probably the end of this month, beginning of September. That is usually our timeline for scheduling. If there are any younger students, families on the line, your teacher assignments will also be provided by the buildings as we get closer to the end of the month, the beginning of September. So the exact amount of time for hybrid learning, when the students come to school on those 2 days, they will be working directly with the classroom teacher because they will be in person. There will be 3 days of remote learning that the students will participate in. The Wednesday could consist of synchronous and asynchronous activities that those details will be outlined and provided as we get closer to your hybrid start date. I mean, on the days where the students are not working with the teacher, they're working remotely and the teacher is working with the other cohort, there will be asynchronous lessons that are provided that are directly linked to the days when the students are in person. But additional information on that model will be provided to you by your classroom teachers, as it will vary according to subject and for grade. We do know that grading is extremely important and is of much concern. We are in the process of finalizing the grading procedures, but all the procedures that we are currently discussing are taking into consideration a student's GPA and ranking to make sure that they are not negatively impacted in any way. We're very excited that we have 5 days of professional development for our staff at the beginning of this school year. There is much to be done to prepare for remote learning and to ensure that our schools and classrooms are ready to accept students when we do move to the hybrid model. Staff will be trained in all health and safety protocols and regulations provided to us by the Department of Health and the CDC. We do have to make sure that we are looking at our fire drills and safety drills. We need to look at all of our common areas, our cafeterias, making sure that we are adhering to all safety protocols. For teaching and learning and social and emotional learning, these are two areas that will receive a lot of professional development. It is important that we institute norms for consistency and expectations across grades and across subject areas to the greatest extent possible. Teachers will receive professional development in conducting formative assessments in a remote model as well as a hybrid model, and this will assist with the grading practices as well. We will be integrating social and emotional learning into the curriculum as well as daily lessons, because we do know that some students have been negatively impacted due to the prolonged school closures. So yes, sports. The New York State Public High School Athletic Association has indicated that September 21st will be the start of the fall season. However, we are expecting an update to come out shortly. As soon as we know if the fall season will begin at that time or if it is being postponed, we will inform students and families as soon as possible. We are in constant communication with the athletic department, the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, in order to get the information we need to help you and your students make decisions. We do know that the fall regional and state championship events have been canceled, but we're still awaiting news on the actual fall season. Extracurricular activities are also extremely important, and we understand that the importance they have in ensuring well-rounded students. We will be reviewing each of these activities and phasing them in slowly. We will make the determination which activities can be done in person and which can be done remotely. We want to make sure the students have these experiences to participate in activities that they enjoy and that increase socialization. Concerts and theater productions tentatively will not be held during the first semester. A decision to allow for concerts and theater productions to be held later on in the year will be made in January. We will look at where the district, where the county, where the state is at that time and make the decisions as appropriate. So there will be music, band, chorus, and orchestra. And it will look differently. When we start off the year remotely, there will be lessons that are provided online, both synchronously and asynchronously, as with any other subjects. When the students do come in for the hybrid model, we will make sure all students are adhering to appropriate social distancing protocols as well as safety protocols. Students will face the same way. There will be assigned seating. Students will not share any equipment, instruments, stands. And if we needed to break down our ensembles and our groups into smaller groups in order to adhere to guidelines, we will do so. And this will depend upon each building, each class, and the space that is available and is needed. Physical education will be done a little bit differently. In instances where students can be outside, they will go outside. In instances where weather is not permitting for that, physical education will take place inside of the building. The PE teachers will be working to create lessons and use appropriate equipment necessary to make sure that we are adhering to the guidelines. In addition, any appropriate sanitizing or cleaning of equipment and or spaces will be done according to regulations on a regular basis. And Darren, at this time, I'm going to turn the presentation back over to you.
Thank you, Michelle. All right, next category was nutrition. There was a lot of questions about students being able to bring their lunches to school. Yes, lunches can be brought to school. Obviously, the cafeteria situation at a high school level is going to be challenging. There's, if with half the students in the building at a time, given a cohort, I think even with it only being half, I think that the building administrators are going to have to be creative in terms of how they, where they put students when they do scheduling for lunches. But obviously, and also if any students have any allergies, where those students are, if students are eating in smaller group areas elsewhere, we're going to have to make sure we're very much aware of that. But we'll leave that up to the building principals to come up with the ideas for what exactly will and who will be in the cafeteria at a given time. Limited, the menus themselves will be extremely limited. One lunch item, one breakfast item, hot or cold every day, only one. Will be served in a grab and go type fashion. Milk will be the only beverage. If for some reason you have if you cannot have milk, soy milk will be the other alternative, but you'd have to call the food service department in advance to make sure that's available for your child every day. There'll be no other snacks or novelty items like ice cream for sale. On days when students are remote learning, so clearly the first month at least, we will be arranging for curbside pickup at our schools for families who are eligible for free or reduced lunch. Those families can come in a grab and go pickup. More information will come for that. Everyone else is, of course, allowed to purchase lunch at our locations, but in the grab and go style. But we will be making it available every day there is supposed to be a school in session. A couple of questions came up with in our category of communication, family, and community engagement. There was a variety of questions. We collated a bunch of the most common ones, and have these four bullets to go over real quick. Schedules will be available in Parent Portal at the end of the month. That is what we're anticipating, and you'll get notified as you normally are with regards to, we'll send a phone, text, email, etc. Let you know the schedules are ready for you to review. Yesterday, you should have received from me a Chromebook request form. We have very, very low inventory. We have about, around maybe 1,200 Chromebooks left to hand out, and we have, already handed out in the spring most of our devices. So we will hand out every single one that we need to in order to support remote learning. But it'll unfortunately end up being a first come first served basis if our inventory runs out. I know that the schools are planning for a freshman orientation online, a video of some sort, a meet and greet type of thing. But also, if there's anything else that we can do to help our sophomore class get acclimated back to school, with any kind of online meet and greet opportunities, maybe you could just make a request to the building administrator, and anything can be planned throughout the month of September, which would be in addition to synchronous learning. There was a question about our parent form surveys. Will the results be posted? Yes, they will. We will post them once the survey is closed. It'll probably be closed by the end of the week, and we'll post the results on our website. Health and safety. Obviously, a lot of questions about that. We will be increasing our ventilation system to 20 to 30% of fresh air intake. There will be as long as it stays seasonably comfortable outside. If it gets too cold out, that might become a conflict with our heating systems. Restroom cleaning, there'll be higher frequency of cleaning of our restrooms, but we are going to have to hire more custodial staff to achieve this. General cleaning, every Wednesday will be a deep cleaning day. There'll be one of the weekend days will be a deep cleaning day. The district has purchased disinfecting machines, which will be utilized in all of our buildings on a daily basis. These machines spray a mist of disinfectant on all surfaces. The tricky part, especially with high school, given the way the schedules are, is that how do we handle cleaning classrooms in between period changes? That is very, very difficult because our students do not travel in groups from one class to the next. They spread out, and students go all over the place for their next class. So it's not like we can just bring teachers to the students. Those student groups do change after every passing period. And so we don't, even if we wanted our students to clean off their desks every time they came and left the classroom, I'm being told we couldn't purchase enough product to do that at this particular time, as supplies of wipes and whatnot are still a little bit hard to come by, and we would need thousands a day. Contact tracing, we talked about that as being what the governor was hoping to have a more concise plan on our website. The Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health, we refer to as Department of Health, has been working with all of our school districts in the county to come up with a unified plan for contact tracing. That is a good thing. We are anxiously waiting to see what that plan looks like. We are hopeful that that plan is detailed, and once it is available, we will have it posted on our website. Asymptomatic cases and how we're going to do health screening, same thing. Looking for additional information for that to support that. Symptomatic cases, our online plan does document exactly what would be requested of our parents if students should illness while in school or before coming to school. So please review that. Health screenings, daily health screenings for staff and students will be done via an online tool called Easy Screen. Easy Screen is used by other school districts for collecting information about concussion protocol screenings for student athletes. So they are well adapted to working with school districts. They're going to further adapt their application to do daily COVID health screenings. There'll be a website and/or app, and it looks pretty easy to use. Additional risk mitigation factors that have been put in place is that there'll be hand sanitizing stations available in every hallway. Masks will be available for everyone who needs one throughout the day, whether or not they soiled it, broke it, lost it, or never came to school with one. We'll have masks available. Locks installed on water fountain bubblers will be utilized. So the bubbler is that little button you push and the stream of water comes out. We're going to lock those down so you can't hit the button, but you'll be able to use the bottle fill stations. So it'll be pretty much hands-free. We're going to keep windows open to the greatest extent possible. We have to install extra soap dispensers in our restrooms because the kids keep ripping them off the walls anyway. So we're going to add more. We're going to disable hand dryers in the restrooms, those ones that blow the air because they also can blow the germs. Nurses will have extra PPE. Kitchen lines and greeter desks will have clear shields installed. We talked about ventilation systems. That'll be ongoing. We're looking to implement student lanyards and photo IDs for our high school students. And wherever possible, we're going to remove any soft surfaces that are difficult to disinfect, such as area rugs or fabric chairs. Social distancing is tricky. It's a major component of our safety plan. We have classrooms of different sizes. They can range anywhere from 600 square feet to 1,100 square feet. Furnishings take up some of that square footage. So if furnishings are going to stay in the room, we have to take the total dimensions of the room minus any square footage taken up by furnishings or space needed to teach, and divide the remaining space by 44 square feet. That gives everyone a 3-foot perimeter, if you will, 3 feet of space between each person plus 3 feet of additional personal space for them. So with that in mind, we've been told that we can have anywhere between 10 and maybe 16 students in a classroom. It's not a lot, but we're going to have to work with that and adjust our class sizes accordingly. And a few more things about social distancing. If students are participating in choral classes or wind instrument classes or doing aerobic activity in PE, then social distancing is going to be, we have to ensure that we have 12 feet in all directions, not just 6. We will be asking students and staff to wear a mask to the greatest extent possible. We can't say all the time because there are times when students are eating or there'll probably some sort of scheduled breaks that we need to worry about. Which might be it's easier to manage maybe in the elementary class, but to where students can take them off or take a break from them, because obviously you can't wear them while you eat. The last bullet does really speak more to the K-6 environment, so I won't really cover that with regards to like bringing as much staff into a classroom as opposed to classroom traveling to commonly used areas. Social emotional learning, there's a lot of questions on that. These bullets in general will answer most of them. We have staff who are assigned to support students where needed. But in addition, those staff will receive additional training. We're going to be purchasing curriculum where necessary to embed social emotional learning into our curriculum. We'll be providing a series of workshops to our families. For our families and students to address common concerns that they may have, etc. So there's going to be a number of different things we're going to do to support students' social emotional learning needs. Special education, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. It is a very important topic, a topic which is going to be dedicated with two sessions on Monday the 24th. We'll have a 10 a.m. public forum and a 4 p.m. public forum. Focusing on special education. So I think you'll receive a notice from Dr. Watkins today if you haven't already, that they'll indicate that, as well as the links similar to what you received for today will be shared in that communication. But in general, come the start of school, we have to hit the ground running and ensuring that we are reviewing any students who might be referred to the Committee on Special Education as possibly needing additional accommodations or being classified. We have to make sure that we are writing our IEP goals to be considerate of our new school environment for this year, where schools might have to pivot between in-person learning and virtual learning, and how do we make sure that we lend those goals to being able to allow for that pivot to take place. We have had some success in terms of, we had our annual summer school, our high school summer school that was done this year, but it was 100% online, as well as an extended school year program for students with disabilities was also 100% online. So it's my understanding that we're going to be taking best practices learned from that with regards to synchronous instruction, etc., and apply those best practices to our remote learning programs starting in September. I'm going to move on. We also recognize, that there's possible that some students will not be able to work remotely, even part-time. And to the greatest extent possible, we are going to make it a point to try to get those students to be able to come to school 4 days a week at once. And then, but if you need if you need to have that level of specificity in the conversations, we ask that you have a conversation with your assistant director for special education, and the link can be found there if you don't know who that is. We have a population of students who are learning English for the first time. That is another high needs population of students. We are going to make sure that we are going to be providing additional supports to them as necessary, as well as our everyday all of our students who need additional academic support. So we have AIS programs that help students get additional instructional support throughout our K to 12. And we got to make sure that we are continuing to provide that support for our students. We know that it is more difficult in a remote learning environment, but we cannot let students continue to fall behind in terms of being on grade level with their peers, and provide whatever supports we can to the greatest extent that we can, no matter which version of learning we are practicing, in person or remote. This is the last section before I get to questions from you. It has to do with transportation. There's questions about ventilation on the bus. We'll be driving, and the capacity of our buses. We'll be driving on good weather days with windows open and roof vents open, and we'll be routing our buses with only 22 students on a big bus. That's 1 student per seat. Siblings can sit together, so it might be a little bit more. Private and parochial transportation will be provided 100%. Based on the schedule of the private and parochial school. I just got this information this morning. Transportation schedules for private and parochial schools will be posted on our website on Monday the 24th. Public school bus routes will be posted on our website the week of September 14th. Why do you have limits on the school bus in terms of number of students when students are wearing masks? The Department of Health basically guidance has basically said that you must be socially distant and wear a mask on the bus. It's possible that some students will, because of medical reasons, not be able to wear a mask on the bus. If that's the case, then we'll make sure that they have the extra space needed to be the minimum requirement of 6 feet between them and the other riders. After school activities is a big question mark. We're not sure what will happen with those. Obviously, the fall sports season announcement will have a major impact if they decide to change from the September 21st date. And then we will make an assessment whether or not there'll be a late bus after that. The question is, I want to drive my kids to school, but can I have the option to set them on the bus on occasion? The answer is yes. When you get your bus route from us, that is your pickup time, your pickup location, that's your bus stop. If you're there, we pick you up. If you're not, we don't. So you can certainly do that. Are students taking school bus transportation getting their temperature screens when they arrive at school? No. Our current plan says that all temperature screening will be done at home. Again, using the app to report back any findings from that. The ability for us to take temperatures and all that at school is very, very limited. If something changes with the Department of Health and any guidance as it pertains to asymptomatic testing, based on what the governor was saying, we will certainly let everyone know. If we drive our students to school, what are the protocol for pickup and drop off regarding social distancing? Everyone will wear a mask at all times. Traffic will probably be a nightmare, but as you know, as a high school family, you probably already know traffic on Myers is a nightmare in the morning, and traffic on Route 52 is a nightmare in the morning. It's possible that we're going to bring in half the students at a time, and so far our family surveys have indicated about 50% of those say they will drive their students into school. So we could have a quarter of the students being driven in every day. So it certainly traffic could be worse. But we'll do our best and, just ask for a couple of days for us to see what the traffic patterns look like and see what we can do to make it any better, if anything at all. Consequences for students on the bus who don't follow the rules. And whether or not there'll be monitors in the bus. We're not going to have monitors on the bus. We've had to hire at least 150 more people, so that's not going to happen. We do have cameras on all the buses, so we'll certainly spot check, make sure that routines, processes, and procedures are being followed. But as always is the case, we're going to rely on bus drivers for handling matters on their vehicle, and then if they can't handle the matter to their satisfaction, they'll report it to building level principals. Bus routes themselves, we anticipate will be of the relatively same length, hopefully. I mean, in terms of time, we are transporting fewer students, but we're running the routes for cohort A and B, I believe, just about the same. So with that in mind, we don't anticipate that the bus routes will be longer. They might look a little different. They might look a lot different. But for the most part, the maximum length of ride time on the school bus should be about the same. Okay, so that is the presentation questions. I'm going to get out of the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I'm also going to grab myself a drink of water, and then I'm going to go over to the document for us to be able to see what questions have been added, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. Any questions that we cannot answer, we will provide an answer in writing at another time. Hold on a second. Okay, so to my facilitators on the meeting, this hasn't happened for the other ones. You should have pasted in questions into the grade 10 forum. I do not see that has taken place. That is unusual. Is it possible that you guys can paste those questions in now as I try to answer them? Again, this has not happened before. I'm sorry. So I will go to the chat, which is going to be a little bit harder for me to go through and try and get some of these questions answered. But we can hold off on putting anything else in the chat for just a moment, because that's going to have an impact on how quickly I can answer. Every time something gets posted, I end up having to scroll back up again. Okay, here we go. With high schoolers moving from class to class and being in hallways, how is the situation handled for sanitizing? I think we covered that. We don't really have a great answer. I see that question was posted early on. Will gloves be mandated at the high school level? I'm not sure if you mean mandated by students or mandated by staff, but certainly PPE will be provided to all staff who are required to have it. What education and training are teachers receiving on Google Classroom? We have an extensive professional developing network that we will be able to provide training, continue to provide training. I can't say how proud we are enough about our professional developers and how well they were able to handle training for our staff in the spring, and that will certainly continue in the fall. I saw them earlier today, and they were working on some stuff that they said was going to be pretty awesome. So I look forward to seeing what that looks like. Will they be held to the same standards as they are to live training? I'm not sure how to answer that question. How will the district evaluate if interactions are actually substantive? That's a great question. We don't have a rubric per se, but we will be monitoring how well those interactions occur. Again, it's a state education department who says that these needs to be substantial daily teacher-student interactions. How will the district evaluate? Oh, that's a repeat question. How will grading work? Will there be live classes? Grading, Michelle talked about that. She touched upon that in terms of looking to, we have a team of people looking to see which grading model we're going to have for marking period 1. When will the attendance instructions and policies be posted? I would say certainly before the start of school, and in terms of instructions, because by instructions, I think you must mean a schedule. We will be getting to that as best we can. We'd like to know if high school students will receive double science each day they are in person. PE can be handled at home. Chemistry labs cannot. So the way the lab time usually works, it's every other day, right? So you'd have, and so our schedules are set up to have either the science, let's call it earth science, and then followed by earth science lab, and then the next day you'd have earth science, and then earth science and PE, right? The next period PE. We gotta have to stick to a schedule to some degree and see how that goes. The state is given flexibility with regards to lab requirements. We're not sure exactly what that looks like, but perhaps some of the labs can be done remotely. But more to become on that. Will there be period by period attendance? I think we covered that. My daughter has taken classes such as baking, pastry, sculpting, and chemistry. I assume they mean. Those are, what the question wasn't finished, but what's the expectation there is what I assume that what I assume they're going to ask. We're going to have, it's going to probably, in certain cases, might be a class by class basic context, and I think we'll have to get back to you on that. Do we actually have to make a decision now and then stick to it, whether we choose remote or not? We will be sending out something about whether or not you'll decide if you want to go remote fully, but it'll be for one marking period at a time. At least that's the current plan, one marking period at a time. So by the end of the first marking period, we will ask again. So that way you're not trying to commit to the entire school year. My daughter's baking, that's the same question. My biggest concern is we cannot continue remotely as a Google Classroom situation. We need a virtual instruction model like Zoom. So, okay, we talked about, or Microsoft Teams. So we're talking about synchronous learning. We talked about live instruction, and we know that is going to be a higher focus on that. At the secondary level, will students be following the traditional 8-period day? I'm not sure how traditional it is, but I think it's to be determined. You will certainly know what the structure of the day is when we start seeing the class schedules from the. I don't have the answer. Some of those conversations are still being had with our building administrators and our teachers as well. My daughter is taking classes. Baking again. On remote days, students will be on their own. How will they be supported if teachers are teaching the other cohort? That's a good question. There'll be certainly asynchronous activities that are covered. The real question is how do we dovetail the synchronous learning time when they're in person to then be in the asynchronous time that's not review work. Students have to continue to evolve, and as they get the asynchronous learning, hopefully they're moving ahead more, even if it's slowly, and then all of a sudden they get into in-person learning again. Like, what is the cycle of making sure students are moving ever forward through the curriculum? Those are not easy questions to answer. And we're working on it. Can all grades be posted in Parent Portal so there are no surprises? Grades. We always post grades in Parent Portal. Oh, you mean assignments. We'll get back to you on that about assignments. If parents do not send their child to school and they are remote only, this means no synchronous learning, ? Not necessarily. We will have to provide further information about that. If its family chooses 100% distant learning, will they have synchronous? Same question. Can you display the chart that had the dates that each grade level will change from hybrid remote? Yes, and we will actually post it on our website. Will all high school core subjects be required to meet live for an equal amount of time for direct instruction? Equal amount of time, I can't answer that. Things might be different. Does a student need to be enrolled in a hybrid model to participate in extracurricular activities? Not necessarily. We talked about possibly being able to do some clubs and activities remotely online. Will grades be used on work, not just the 4 categories from spring? Grading is being, Michelle talked about that. Grading is being looked at. We will let you know what that final model looks like. If my child chooses to stay virtual, he receives the same education. I think we talked about that. I see there will be material made available for students who have attendance Thursday, Friday, but if they're being taught material Thursday, Friday, how will they be able to do the assignment? Again, we talked about that dovetailing thing. It's got to roll together somehow. The same holds here for those students who are only going remote. How will they get phys ed? We will have those requirements posted, I'm sure, before school starts. How will Regents courses happen and the test this year? We have not heard about testing. I would not bet either way if testing is going to happen. Will the kids still be able to purchase water bottles in the cafeteria? I don't know if water for purchase will be able to be done. I asked about milk, and I was told milk was the only thing, and maybe we'll have to get the answer for you. Since high school students will not be learning on campus until October 26th, will they be allowed on campus to practice if the fall sports season ends up starting? If fall season starts 9/21, we will have to tell you what fall season will look like on 9/21. Does that mean we will not have Chromebooks or laptops available in school during? That is correct. We've given out all of our in-school Chromebooks. Well, we have some left, but they're not going to last. I'm sure they're all going to be handed out. Will PCs be made available for students who are taking classes that require them for work? We have some computer labs in our high school that have workstations on it. So we will see what we can do. But again, we're talking about now another set of things that we have to sanitize and stuff. So there's a lot of questions there. Are we supposed to fill out second survey for all kids? It's not clear in the instructions. Second survey for all kids. If we'll be sending out additional surveys, so hang in there. Does that mean we will not have Chromebooks or same question in school? Right, no Chromebooks in school. Will WCSD be using the same programs? Yes, we'll be using Google Classroom. During virtual learning, will teachers be sending lessons from their home? Time check. During virtual learning, will teachers be sending lessons from their homes, or will they be teaching from their classroom? It could vary, and it will depend. We were told we don't have enough capacity bandwidth-wise to live stream all 800 teachers at one time out of their classroom. So we're going to have to see what happens there. How will labs be done for science and electives like tech or wood? I think we talked about that. There's tech shop, wood shop, all that stuff. There's some challenges there for sure. What is being done should there be COVID cases in school? That is covered in our plan. But in terms of procedures for quarantining and whatnot, everything's going to be on a case-by-case basis. I anticipate we're going to have to work very closely with the Department of Health. How will labs work? We kind of touched upon that. Will live meets be scheduled during class periods so child doesn't? Yes, we have to avoid conflict so a child does not have to choose what class to go to. Was the rest of that question. We will have to make sure that we avoid conflicts in how we schedule those live synchronous sessions. Will the district be releasing survey results? I covered that. Yes, we will. I have junior, senior, sophomore I have a junior and sophomore at RCK. Will you allow juniors with a driver's license to drive and park on school grounds? I think it's a great question. That one came up once before. We'll get back to you on that. Ketchum has a lot more parking spots than John Jay. John Jay has barely enough. If every senior at John Jay wanted to park at John Jay, as well as all the staff member that need to go there just to work, there would not be enough parking spots. Ketchum has more parking spots. John Jay is a problem. But if we're only bringing in half the kids, does that mean we have more flexibility? Perhaps we do. Same question about Chromebooks repeated. If my child chooses to stay virtual, will he or she receive the same education as a child in class? Will he be able to watch the teacher actually teaching? Again, we talked about not being able to broadcast every single teacher at the same time, so we're not sure what that would look like. We'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it. Will ventilation systems be updated with MERV filters? I've been asked that before. I don't have the answer yet. I have to talk to our facilities director and find out. We will post that answer. I have trouble getting on and missed everything. Can I view the call another way? This has been recorded, so it will be made available tomorrow morning. If once hybrid learning begins, I'm uncomfortable sending my child, will be an option for them to do all remote learning. I covered that. If there's an outbreak above 9%, will both A and B groups go virtual? Yes, and for how long? Until the government says we can go back to school. Will students be able to take ceramic art classes, photography classes? It certainly won't look the same. We'll have to get back to you on that. Do we have the option to opt out of hybrid? I've covered that. Are bathrooms being monitored, limited use? I don't have a operational plan on that, so I think I'll hold off on answering. Will students be able to eat lunch in class? I think it's going to vary. Will 100% social distance learning have their own teachers or who teach? It's really going to come down to the numbers, I think is kind of what we talked about. We'll have to find out how many people are not sending their students to school, and that'll have an impact on how many teachers we have available, I'm sure. Exactly what PPE will the student be required to wear? A mask, not gloves, not face shield, a mask. Will the CAD program be made available to those taking the class? Computer-aided design programs are expensive. I don't know if there's an online something we can do. They're very expensive. They're also very resource heavy. You'd have to have a computer, a sizable computer at home that could handle it with a good graphics card and the like. So I'm not 100% sure what we could do to make that available at home. But I will defer to our tech teachers on that, and if they have ideas, we'll work with them. Will the kids be taking Regents? I think I answered that. We don't know yet. Can classes be recorded for remote learners? I will defer to the teacher for that. Even though there will be no fall theater production, it will be possible for proscenium to meet so theater students have an opportunity to practice acting, singing, and dancing. If sports are allowed in September, the arts should be allowed as well. Thank you for that point. We will keep an eye out on what happens with sports and provide further feedback. Will we have a better way to communicate remote learning feedback to the school? Will we have a better way to communicate remote learning feedback to the school? If you're not getting if you don't have a good means of communication between you and your principal, certainly let us know. How many kids are going to be allowed in each class? I think we said based on social distancing, we're looking at 10 to 16, depending, as long as we could fit them from a social distance perspective. Why wouldn't record each class? I think it's going to be dependent on the class and how much synchronous learning they do. And I'm just going to defer to the teachers in that. Will students be allowed to participate in clubs if they're 100% distant learning? We will. We think we addressed that in our presentation. We will review any request of any club who wants to meet online in form. Just have them send that notification to the building principals. Okay, that wasn't too bad in terms of being able to use the chat. Clubs in person. Nothing's going to happen in person initially, so we'll have to see. Oh, option to pick up textbook. That was a good question. It came up the other day too. We need to communicate what options we're going to have for being able to get our textbooks. We don't have that procedure just yet, but we will let you know. What about if the students brought their own disinfectant to clean surfaces in between classes? I don't think anything can be ruled out on cleaning surfaces between classes at this point in time. Is the school day the same hours as always has been? We are intending to have the normal school day. When will we get feedback on questions that were not answered? We will hopefully have whatever we can answer posted in the next few days. All right. With that being said, Michelle, do you have anything you wish to add?
Just clarification, I saw some grading questions. Additional information on the grading procedures will be shared with families and students once they have been finalized. If a student, whatever grade the student receives based upon the grading procedure, that will be the grade that's on their report card and or their transcript. But additional information will be provided once that has been finalized.
Thanks, Michelle. Posted where? The question is, where would these answers be posted? We have a web, if you go to wappenderschools.org and you go to select a school, one of the school options is reopening, Wappener reopening plans or something like that. It's right there on our website. It's the very top one on the list. Click that. We already have our videos being posted there. That would be the general vicinity of where we'll be posting the Q&A as well. Okay, I'm going to turn off recording. And I want to thank everyone for their